Welcome to Type-C Tech Reviews. Today we're going to be doing a review of the Dell G3223Q. If you guys want to check out this exact same monitor, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links, but let's jump into it. Firstly, this is a 32-inch screen size with a 3840 by 2160p resolution, aka 4K. But what is the PPI, or pixels per inch? Essentially how crisp and clear the image is actually going to appear to your eye. Well, this comes in at about 138 pixels per inch. Now, in my opinion, that's pretty much perfect, as you are accessing all of the crispness and clarity that your eye can actually visibly see, while a 27-inch 4K panel, you're kind of over-rendering all of those pixels, but you're not quite taking advantage of them. So this is the perfect screen size to resolution. Before we talk ports, let's talk about the matte finish. It's actually not that bad here. Now, if you don't know, matte finishes typically degrade your picture quality, and to some degree, all of them will do that, but 99% of gaming monitors, or any monitor, has a matte finish. This one though is very thin, and during gameplay you never really notice it. With that, let's talk ports. This has one DisplayPort 1.4, two HDMI 2.1s, a USB Type-B upstream, then two USB Type-A downstreams, very conveniently located at the bottom chin with that 3.5mm audio jack. Now, one note with the USB Type-A's is they are powered without any upstream port connected. So if you didn't want to hook up your upstream Type-B port, you could actually just use them to charge your headphones or mouse or your phone, really whatever. And that is very nice because LG doesn't do that. But let's talk refresh rate and variable refresh rate. Firstly, this comes in at 144 Hz natively and has FreeSync Premium Pro. FreeSync Premium Pro, the Premium Pro part, actually allows you to have variable refresh rate on with HDR. Now, with this monitor, that's not especially important, but it is nice to have, and we'll talk about that why in a second. But before we do, let's talk brightness. That's very important here, and it does a great job. Brightness in SDR outperforms its rating of 400 nits. We clocked it in at 455 nits, which is a great brightness for pretty much any room type. This also helps with vibrancy and makes games just more pretty and enjoyable overall, not to mention battling reflections. Now, overall brightness in HDR does get a slight bump here, but I do mean slight. However, the peak brightness here is able to reach slightly over 600 nits, which is great because that's what its rating is. However, the colors here are just not as well tuned in HDR, and there's no adjustment for colors when you're in that HDR setting. So to make this like perfect in HDR, you'd have to do a calibration. That being said, this monitor is really designed for SDR content, so it's not too big of a deal, but that might make you consider a different monitor. If it does, I have a recommendation at the end of the video, so skip there or just continue watching. But let's talk colors, very important here. If you're creative and want to use this for both gaming and like editing, you can. This covers 95% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, and out-of-the-box accuracy and SDR is extraordinarily good. Again, if you're looking for a monitor to edit or do color accurate work out of the box, as well as gaming obviously, this is definitely one to look at. Lastly, this can also output 10 bits of color at its full resolution and refresh rate. Now for the contrast ratio, it's exactly what you'd expect from an IPS panel at 1000:1. There's no local dimming feature that's full array or really anything that's going to do anything great to massively change that contrast ratio. So for true HDR experience, you are going to have to bump up your price point a considerable amount or not go for a 4K monitor here. For backlight bleed, my unit had none, which is great and pretty typical and standard of Dell. They do a great job. All right, but how does it game? Well, it's great. Response time here is very good. There is extremely minimal ghosting, even with faster whips, and while this is not absolutely crystal clear like some of the other 4K 144 Hz panels, this is at a level that makes extremely minimal difference. Overall, I give this an A, or maybe an A plus minus, or you get the idea. It's very, very close. Now, for the actual response time settings themselves, there is only one right answer here. There are three modes. There is fast, super fast, and extreme. Now, fast is the only one that you ever want to touch. In super fast and extreme, there is an enormous amount of pixel overshoot or inverse ghosting, AKA, if you don't know what that means, that's okay. Don't ever put it in it. It comes in fast, and that's how you want to leave it. All right, but let's talk console compatibility, with both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X being completely compatible at 4K at 120 Hz with HDR on all at the same time. If you want to use this for consoles, this is a great monitor, as we expect at this price point. With that, let's talk build quality. It's pretty much your average Dell quality here, which is a good thing, having height adjustability, a great amount of tilt, swivel, but no rotation here. The overall quality of materials is exactly what you would expect. It's very good, it's very well put together, and all things considered, it's fairly attractive when compared to the Alienware monitors. While they are more attractive, the Dell here definitely holds its own. Now, like build quality, the menu system and controls is normal Dell stuff here. It's functional and easy to get to things for the most part. It's controlled with a joystick, and it has 4 shortcut keys, which I really never use. Overall, it's good, but I wish they had better graphics like LG, and yes, that's nitpicky, but yeah, overall, I don't think you're gonna be unhappy with this. Now, if you wanted to mount this monitor, this is fully compatible with 100mm by 100mm Vesa mounts, and it's fairly light, so not a problem. Now, before we get to the most important section of the video, which is price and value, let's talk about some quirks. This has some RGB on the back. It's actually fairly bright, but you cannot change it from the blue color, so you can't change it to whatever color you want, but if you definitely have your monitor facing towards the inside of your room, so maybe you're looking at the back of your monitor, it is a nice piece to kind of spice up the look of it, but if you're not really gonna see too much unless you're in an absolutely dark room, and by that I mean the RGB bouncing off the wall. So yeah, it's kind of just gimmicky, but it's there. All right, but let's talk price and value. Coming in at a price tag of $589.99, this is a good monitor at a good price point. However, I would still take the LG 32GR93U over this panel, as the brightness figures are essentially the same. It still maintains the 4K 144 Hz and has better colors in HDR. And at the time of filming, the LG is actually slightly cheaper, making it overall the better pick. But again, if you want to check out the exact same monitor in this review, or you want to check out the LG that I recommended, Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. And if you want to check out that review, it's right here. At the time of filming, I probably would review it. But again, remember, if these monitors go on sale, use this as a catalog of information to kind of figure out which one is better by value. If the Dell is like $100 cheaper than the LG, it probably makes sense to get that one. But with that, this is Type C Tech Reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next video.